What's up, Jet fans? I literally just finished watching Jets Game 12, Falcons at New York. Um, a sloppy and miserable 13-8 loss to the Falcons. Um, that's now 5 losses in a row. Let's just jump right into it, I guess. First, the offense, as you can see on screen. Tim Boyle did get benched for Trevor Siemian, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. First, I want to mention Garrett Wilson, a bunch of spectacular catches, really good. Um, Dalvin Cook as well. He had a good first quarter, and then he fumbled the ball, which resulted in a Falcons points. And I think the Jets kind of got scared of him almost, and they stopped giving him the ball. But there was a part early on in this game, to be fair, but there was a part in this game where Dalvin Cook seemed to be playing better than Breece Hall, but then he had that fumble, which resulted in some Falcons points. So very unfortunate, but I think Dalvin Cook was having a decent game as well. Um, but now the quarterback situation. You bench Zach Wilson, which I was very, very much against. You put in Tim Boyle. In this game, he threw in a terrible interception. Um, that was his fault. The failed Mary last game was not really his fault, but this interception was absolutely his fault. And we're starting Trevor Siemian. He's returning. I actually remember him, and I think he similar to Aaron Rodgers almost, except for I think it was due to contact. He tore his Achilles or broke his leg against the Browns. Actually, I remember watching that. Um, but Trevor Siemian came in and still looked pretty inept. Um, you know, if and it's just confusing to me. You bench Zach Wilson, the Jets are just as bad with Tim Boyle. You bench Tim Boyle, well, or worse, but anyways, you bench Tim Boyle. They put in Trevor Siemian, Jets are just as bad. So clearly, the quarterback, while he might not be helping the situation, the quarterback doesn't appear to be the problem, but the coaches and the team are never going to say that because benching a quarterback is an easy fix to get some blame off of you, and there's deeper issues with this team, but they're just not gonna fix it. Not, I mean, I guess you really can't do anything in the season, but they're just trying to avoid the blame, I think. And then defense, particularly the entire game, this reffing crew was absolutely terrible. The Falcons MVP is on screen right here. Um, and to be fair, they got a lot better after halftime. Maybe they had a second half adjustments or something with this crew. So I will give them credit, but the story of the game, at least for the first half, was they were calling ticky-tacky penalties, and it was always on the Jets defense. Um, they led the refs led the Falcons down to multiple scoring drives. Honestly, um, in a serious case, the Jets defense once again played really well. They let up 13 points, got 2 points actually on a safety, but a DJ Reed interception was called back. There was so much that the Jets defense was trying to do and then they couldn't do because anytime they did anything, the refs called a flag. To be fair, at the end of the game, they became a lot more fair. I don't think the Trevor Siemian, he threw a fumble and they called it an incompletion and then reviewed and then called it a fumble. I agree with that actually. I think it was a fumble. Um, so they definitely became a lot better. But in the first half of this game, the refs that wanted the Falcons to win, my logic for that is I think the NFL doesn't want to have the NFC South be represented by a losing team. So they told the refs to maybe help them out a bit. Similar with the Chiefs game where, they didn't want any of the Taylor Swift fans to get mad, so they let the Chiefs win. But that was more that what's weird about that was at the end of the game, one big call, right? And yeah, refs can make mistakes. I'm not I'm allowing for the possibility of mistakes, and obviously it's tough when it's one big mistake at the end of the game that ends the game. But this was a consistent, every single play, they called a flag to help out the Falcons. I don't know if that was they wanted the Falcons to win, if this crew just stinks or what. But every single play, they were calling stuff on the Jets for a good like drive and a half, and it gave the Falcons. It was early on in the game where it gave the Falcons a lot of momentum, and it absolutely killed the momentum on the Jets. The commentators, I liked a lot more in this game than when the Jets are on prime time. I think the commentators were good. They were calling the refs on the ticky-tacky flags, and they're saying that's not a flag, that's not a flag. So I appreciate that. But then the commentators also said, oh, well, that should have been a flag, but they didn't call it, which is weird because they're calling such a ticky-tacky game, which is fair if all the penalties, and when the commentators were saying the flags should be on the jet on when the commentators were saying there should be flags, it was also on the Jets. So like it'd be one thing if the Falcons do something ticky tacky and the refs don't call it, then yeah, I think then that's time to get mad. But no, it was only when the Jets did something ticky tacky they called it. At the end of the game, like I said, they became a lot better. But it's just really unfortunate because I actually think the Jets defense really only allowed like 6 points, but unfortunately the scoreboard says like 13. And obviously the Jets got 2 points on the safety, but a great defensive showing. I know the Falcons aren't the greatest offense, but a really good defensive showing, and I think a better defensive showing than what the scoreboard says. I'm typically harder on that Jets defense because they're supposed to be like one of the greatest defenses ever. At least that was the hype on the offseason. And I'm gonna. This was a really great performance by the defense. I think the refs just ruined it, and then obviously the Jets offense couldn't capitalize. Um, anyways, looking beyond, yes, Zach Wilson. I wondered to myself if the benching of Tim Boyle is actually them trying to set up Zach Wilson playing again. Because right, you can't just like which this is dumb. Like I would respect the Jets a lot if they did this, but they're not gonna because the NFL doesn't do this. Where you bench a player and then say we made a mistake, he should actually start, and then you start him again. Um, they're not gonna do that, but I think they're trying to set up some way where they can do that without getting all the media ridicule. And like, cause like actually a great example of that is the Falcons. The Falcons benched Desmond Ridder and then had to start him again, and there was a lot of media backlash on that. But I think that was the right call. They had no one better. Desmond Ridder was the best option in my opinion. With the Jets, Zach Wilson, he's not great. He's not playing phenomenal, but he watching Tim Boyle, watching Trevor Siemian, he is actually the best option, and so they need to find a way to get him to start. So you benched. I think the plan is, and maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't know, but I have no reports to say this. This is literally right after the game I'm recording this, but they benched Tim Boyle because he threw a terrible interception. They're gonna make Zach Wilson the number 2. They're gonna technically say Trevor Siemian is starting next week, but then the very first mistake he makes, they're gonna bench him and then put Zach Wilson back in, and then Zach Wilson will be the starter for the rest of the season because he's the best player. I don't know, a pretty miserable game. Jets are now 4-8. No chance to make the playoffs. They should still obviously play for the win. See my video on why tanking doesn't work if you don't understand why. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist with my Zach Wilson stuff. Let me know down in the comments below. Bye.